Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Harshita and in today's video I'm going to be answering your questions about CLAT, LSAT and other exams that you need to give to get into law schools. So without further ado, let's get to it. How often does CLAT happen? So CLAT happens once in a year in the month of May or June. It always happens after your board exam. Date of the exam, as of now it is 23rd July 2021. How long is the paper and how many questions? So the duration of the paper is 2 hours and it has 150 questions. There is 1 mark for each question and there is a negative marking of 0.25 if you get any answer wrong. Subject distribution on the paper. So this is the subject distribution of the exam and the weightage of each subject in the exam. So through this you need to know how much time and effort you have to put in each subject. Can we give CLAT after class 10? No, you cannot give CLAT after class 10. The eligibility criteria for giving CLAT is 10 plus 2. You need to have completed your class 12 exams in order to sit for the exam. Stream to choose in class 11 to crack CLAT. Well, it totally depends upon you. People choose various streams in their class 11 and 12 and they still crack CLAT. It is not at all necessary for you to be a humanities student or a commerce student or a science student specifically to crack CLAT. You need to choose your stream according to how you can handle the stress. Do all law colleges accept CLAT scores or are there different tests? Well, there are a lot of tests. So we give the CLAT exam to get into the different NLUs, but even though NLUD is a national law school, it does not take acceptance through CLAT. You have to sit for a different exam called AILET. Similarly, for the different private law colleges, you have to give different exams. Symbiosis has their own test called the Symbiosis Law Admission Test. And for colleges like Jindal Global Law School and NMIMS, you have to sit for the LSAT exam. So not all law schools accept the CLAT scores. Well, CLAT is difficult. There are so many students that sit for CLAT every year. The people who have taken a gap year or who have just completed their class 12, the crowd is a lot. There is a lot of competition because the seats are very less. So you need to be in your best form and you need to perform the best. For how many hours should you start preparing for CLAT? When should you start preparing? So I started preparing for the CLAT exam in my class 11, 2 years before I had to sit for the exam. Whereas people start their preparations even 3 months before the exam. So even though some people can manage cracking CLAT in 3 months, I would suggest you to start at least a year prior. By starting early, you will have an edge over the others because you would have solved different kinds of papers and you would have spent more time, so that could benefit you. So when you're nearer to the exam, of course you have to give your majority of the time to prepare for the exam. So there is no certain how many hours that you need to study, but it depends on how you prepare and how many hours of preparation works for you. Can we clear CLAT without coaching? Is self-study sufficient? So this question is very subjective. The people who study better in groups would prefer coaching, and the people who prefer to study on their own because that way they can learn better is better for them. I had enrolled myself in a coaching institute called Career Launcher and it did help me a lot because I was consistently and regularly spending my time for the preparation of CLAT, and there were not many days that had gone when I was not preparing for CLAT. So it helped me keep in touch with my CLAT preparation alongside my class 11 and 12 studies. Enrolling in a coaching also gives you an idea about how people around you are preparing and how much they have covered, so that you get a boost or a motivation that you also have to study these many hours or you also have to cover these many things so as to be at the top of your class. It helps you meet and interact with new people and you get ideas about the different methods of going about something or some subject in particular. Lastly, a little healthy competition never hurts. So yeah, is it difficult to crack CLAT for a class 12 student? No, it is not difficult for a class 12 student to crack CLAT because most of the toppers every year are class 12 students. I know it gets very tedious and stressing because boards and CLAT happen simultaneously in a month or two's gap, but that's when you need to understand time management so as to be able to give time to the both. Does the government pay for you if you get into an NLU? I did read somewhere that the first 2 or 3 ranks do get scholarships from the government, that is the government pays for their schooling, but I'm not quite sure. You guys need to look it up. Is a gap year worth it? Personally, I'm a person who is totally against taking gap year. When I was in my class 12th, I was preparing for CLAT and I was not that confident that I would be able to crack CLAT. I did want to take a gap year so as to give 1 whole year for the preparation of CLAT. But then I remember seeing a YouTube video that talked about gap year and it totally changed my perspective on it. If I find the link, I'll put it in the description. Do check it out. So there are many students who take a gap year and crack CLAT, but there are also many students who do take a gap year but are not able to crack CLAT. So for me, it is not worth it to spend a whole year preparing for something because you might get bored of it or you might just not end up giving your whole year to CLAT. Basic question, I'm in grade 11 now and I want to crack CLAT. How many hours a day do I need to study for it? So as I mentioned before, you need to spread your time and your days according to how you want to prepare for CLAT. If you think you're weak at a subject, give it more time so that you can be better at it and you can be more efficient and faster. So at least in class 11, try studying for CLAT at least 1 hour every day. Something important on both. So the most important thing is your ability to read fast. LSAT is a very exhaustive paper. You need to read a lot and you have to have the patience of sitting over there for 2 hours continuously reading long passages so as to answer your questions. Similarly with CLAT, the paper pattern just changed. Everything is passage based, so you need to keep reading a lot. You cannot get exhausted in the middle of the exam. So you need to be an efficient and a very fast reader. I think that's the most important thing, except for not losing your calm in the exam and not stressing. Can you suggest how much time is appropriately required for LSAT preparation? So for me, the LSAT preparation happened alongside with CLAT. Like, I did not spend a humongous amount individually for studying for LSAT. I thought that my preparation had happened when I was studying for CLAT itself. So for LSAT, I did not give a lot of time. I just tried solving some papers for LSAT to get to know the pattern and to get to know how the paper is like. So that was for me. But you should give at least 20 days to a month of individual preparation for LSAT so as to get a knack of the LSAT exam. What subject should you start with? There is no ideal subject that you should start with. However, I would recommend you to start with either your weakest subject or the subject that has the maximum weightage in the paper. You need to decide how confident you are in attempting a question, and if you're not that confident and if you want to score the most in some particular section, that's the section that you need to spend most time on. Difference between CLAT and LSAT: tough, easy type. Both are different papers altogether. LSAT is majorly English and reasoning, whereas CLAT is a culmination of different subjects. So if you're very good at English, LSAT will automatically be easy for you. Strategy to tackle time in CLAT exam: start with the section that you're most confident with or the one that you're fastest at. When you've completed a section confidently or you've completed a certain part of the exam before time, you get a lot of confidence and boost automatically and you're motivated. So start with that. If you're not being able to solve a question, leave it at that. Don't spend a lot of time or the majority of your time answering questions that you are not able to answer. Every minute of the exam is very important because you don't even get 1 minute for each question in your exam. Can we get a good rank with a month's preparation? So it will be very difficult for you because 1 month is a very less time. People start preparing for CLAT 2 years ago. So 1 month is very less. I'm not sure if that would be a good enough duration for you to get a good rank. What's the minimum marks that you should get in sample papers? So the new paper pattern has around 150 questions. So anything above 90 to 100 would be a good score for your marks. Who all should go for it? Any person who has an interest in law and aspires to be a lawyer should definitely go for the law entrance tests. Can general categories clear CLAT? Yes, of course, general categories can clear CLAT. However, the cutoff for the general category is a little higher than the other categories so as to get into the colleges. I'm scoring really less and I have 1 month. What do I do? Suggest the books. So I spoke to one of my friends who is going to be sitting for the CLAT exam this year and she suggested the books that she had been using. So I'm going to tell you all that. For English, 2 books are recommended: WordPower Made Easy and 6 Weeks to Words of Power. I had also used WordPower Made Easy and it is an extremely good book. If you finish the whole book and if you understand things, then you will definitely get a lot of help in writing your exams. For maths, the books that you get from your coaching institutes are a lot of help. Questions in those books are from the previous year CLAT papers. Other than that, Quantitative Aptitude by R.S. Agarwal is a suggested book. For current affairs, newspaper is the most important thing. Online sources such as The Hindu, The Indian Express, GK Today are important, and for in-depth notes on the important subjects, Drishti IAS is recommended. So since this year everything was online, my friend told me that she had joined a lot of Telegram groups that helped her in her preparation for current affairs. So they kept sending legal updates and the important news. These are the suggested groups. For logical reasoning, verbal and non-verbal reasoning by R.S. Agarwal was suggested. A book called Official Guide to GMAT can also be used. For analytical reasoning, reasoning by M.K. Pandey was suggested. For legal reasoning, since everything is now passage-based, you do not need a lot of bookish knowledge. If you know legal maxims, that will help you a lot. A suggested book for legal reasoning is A.P. Bhardwaj. Other than these books, solving mock tests are of a lot of significance. If you solve a lot of mock tests, you are certain to get a lot of knowledge that you would not have gotten from solving the questions in the books. Giving mocks helps you a lot. They help you with time management, help you understand where you're going wrong, and help you understand which section is taking a lot of time in the exam. But when I say that solving a lot of mocks is very important, I do not say just solve the mocks for the sake of solving it. When you solve a mock, you have to go back to the paper to see where you've made a mistake. You have to correct your mistake so as to understand. Otherwise, you will keep on making that mistake again. You need to analyze your paper. You cannot just go on solving mocks after mocks. This was a mistake that I made. I solved a lot of mocks, but I never really went on to do an in-depth checking of where I went wrong. I have just started my preparation in June and I really don't know what will they ask in the paper. Well, no one really knows what will happen in the paper or what kind of paper will it be. So that is why it is suggested that a lot of mocks must be solved. Which college is best for law in West Bengal? So in West Bengal, the best law college is WBNUJS. How to prepare for math and GK for CLAT and ALET. So use the suggested books that I mentioned before. Other than that, solve a lot of questions for maths because you need to be very quick at it. For GK, read newspapers, go through online sources, What's the news? That's all you can do. So do spend a hefty time on GK. Is a crash course good enough to help prepare for CLAT? Crash courses are generally 3-month long courses, and I do have heard about people who have cracked CLAT by enrolling themselves in the crash course rather than the 1-year long or the 2-year long courses. So if you're a quick learner and you can grasp the concepts quickly, a crash course is suggested for you. Is CLAT important if you want to get into corporate? Well, CLAT is the first step to get into a law school, and only after you get into law school can you choose corporate law or litigation. So yes, CLAT is very important. If someone wants to do BBA LLB, should they give CLAT? Well, most of the NLUs under CLAT provide BA LLB and not BBA LLB. So if you're very sure that you only want to do BBA LLB and not BA LLB, then you can consider sitting for entrance tests solely for the private colleges. Is it necessary to get into an NLU? Are private law colleges good too? Yes, private law colleges are also very good. It depends on how you adjust to a place and how you make the most out of that place. So those were the questions that I got. If you have any other question, do let me know in the comments. Also, if you've referred to the books that I mentioned before, do leave a feedback on the books in the comments so that it can help other people. And that's about it for this video. If you like the video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.